everybody, and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United news as Manchester United struggle, stumble and fail to get their director of football in place. Can they actually afford it? There's breaking news around Dan Ashworth. He is no closer to becoming Manchester United's director of football, and some would say they don't want him. Some people out there are already saying, well, look, he wanted Southgate. He wants Potter. He's the guy who did the Tonali deal. Look how that's gone. Do we want this guy at Man United? Is the job too big for him? Is he overrated? I think it's a little bit unfair, but we'll delve into that. We've also got the latest on Zirkzee and Manchester United. Lot going on there. An ex-Man United player has been speaking quite vocally about Ten Hag again. We'll bring that in as a bit of news for you. Also, Man United scouting another attacking midfielder. We'll talk about that and a little bit more developing stories around things we've spoken to you as well. And just for a bit of fun this morning, I thought I was live at 10 o'clock and for 2 minutes proceeded to go from my fault to your fault. I thought I was live. It actually said I was live and the chat wasn't interacting and I was going, bloody hell, is it a bank holiday? Why aren't you interacting? You'll never see it, thank God, but it probably would have made a good clip. Don't forget tonight, well, we've got press conference with Ten Hag coming up at lunchtime, about 2 o'clock. 8 o'clock tonight. We ain't missing that just because it's Good Friday. It's going to be a Good Friday. 8 o'clock tonight. Player ratings of the season so far. Interactive with you. It's going to rock. Right, let's get into the show this morning. Kev was class last night. He was, James. I watched the last half an hour of it. Very much enjoyed it. Always check out the Thursday night shows when I'm not on because there's always memberships to be given. Joker, welcome. Thank you very much for your membership for 21 months. Okay, we're going to start off here with a story around Dan Ashworth. Multiple people are talking about this morning. Effectively, the story is that Manchester United and Newcastle will not compromise in their standoff over Dan Ashworth. Both clubs at the moment are planning for a summer transfer window without a director of football. United will not meet the £20 million compensation fee that Newcastle set weeks ago, and Omar Barada may well be expected to take charge of negotiations in the interim. Look, first thing I'm going to say about this is I think it's a bit. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's great. I really don't. I think that, INEOS came in on they were rolling with it and, there was some really innovative things happening and it's just stalled. It's stalled, really. They're working really hard and they've got some really good people working for the betterment of Manchester United. And I think things will improve. I think things have improved already. But the PR machine is stumbling. Like, they had that momentum of Barada in January and Ashworth was announced in early February. But the deal's not been done and it's April. All this Southgate and Potter stuff, it's really damaging to their reputation. Like, people are starting to have doubts about INEOS. Not like, oh, let's get rid of them or anything like that. That would be ridiculous. But the intention momentum that they had in the first few weeks has stalled. There's no doubt about that. And I don't know why they're comfortable with that. I don't know what's going wrong. You've also got to remember the Glazers are still 50% owners of the club, so things might still be difficult to get through. My feeling with Dan Ashworth is we can't afford him, and that's more concerning than anything, because it's very, very obvious that I've seen people on social media saying, yeah, we're not going to have our pants pulled down anymore. And I'm like, it's 20 million quid. It's 20 million. You can negotiate that for 50 to 15. It's 15 to 20 million pounds for a director of football that's going to run the summer transfer window and probably save us 50 to 60 million pounds. Like, it's really not a lot of money. And the fact that Man United are digging their feet in over this, well, is this not delay again? Is this not what we saw with Pogba, with Bruno, with Maguire, where a transfer deal takes ages? I thought we were meant to be being quick, efficient and on the ball. And this is not quick, efficient and on the ball. Everybody knew we wanted Ashworth 2 months ago. We still haven't got him. And to all those people out there championing the fact that, oh yeah, we won't be taking the piss out of any more, I'd rather have a director of football in 2 months ago, to be honest. Just, why is it not happening? And my suspicion is we haven't got the money for it, or somebody won't sign off the money for it. Because remember, the Glazers still sign off the checks. So why have we not got this deal done? Why have we gone for somebody that was really hard to get as well? Like, there are other options in world football that can be a director of football. So I think at the moment, I get it. There are people out there just saying, I don't mind this as long as we get our man in the end. It shows we won't be messed about with. But do you think Newcastle don't read the papers? Do you think Newcastle are sat there going, oh, they're just going to wait it out and make us look stupid? Newcastle have to come out this reputationally well as well. What we've got here is a standoff. And we clearly need to negotiate. We're not going to get him for free. So what is actually happening here? Are we meant to wait another month and then cheer loudly because we get him for 5 million? I mean, that's 3 months. Like, people are out there talking to players and negotiating sales and purchases. We haven't got our director of football. Barada can't start till the summer. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and champion the fact that we haven't done something that's fundamental to the development of our football club. The 2 open goals with Manchester United were CEO, director of football. CEO is coming in the summer. Well done. Director of football, where are they? What's going to happen in this summer? Are we writing this summer off already? Are we selling players? Are we buying the players we want to buy? Will we have a director of football this summer? And why are we negotiating or refusing to pay £20 million when actually this is the guy that can instantly save that amount of money straight away? Is it just because actually we don't have any money? Is that the reason that we're not doing it? We're not in a strong position to negotiate because we don't have a lot of money, which we know the club's in problems with. The bigger picture about Dan Ashworth, would you still want him? Well, look, I think it's, I might shock a few people here, but look, actually, if INEOS want Dan Ashworth, go and get Dan Ashworth. It's the same with a manager. If a manager wants to sell a player, sell the player. If a manager wants to buy a certain player, try and get that player. Because if you give the people in charge the tools they want and they fail, there's no excuse. But if you don't give them what they want, then there is an excuse. If INEOS have decided that Dan Ashworth is the guy to rebuild Manchester United, then let's get the deal done. I think people out there saying, I don't want him because Dan Ashworth wants Southgate, or Dan Ashworth wants Potter, or Dan Ashworth did the Tonali deal, and look at that. Well, look, there's some big red flags there. Of course there are. Give him the Man United job, and if he fails, you can sit there and say, I told you so. But I think if this is the guy they want, then I've got to back that this is the guy they want. And there's a lot of easy wins at Man United for Dan Ashworth to come in. I mean, obviously, I'm massively confused about his desire to bring Southgate or admire Southgate at the very least. I'm massively confused by why he thinks that's in any way relevant for Manchester United. It's laughable. And of course, you've got to scrutinise the Tonali deal. I mean, this is exactly, I mean, I did a video on That's Football last night. So if you want to watch that, you can do. But I'll put my hand up here and say, look, I think Ashworth needs the job and he needs to start tomorrow. But you've also got to look at that from INEOS' point of view and at least ask the question, why did you sign Tonali? Because this is something we really need to do. Some of you don't like it, but I'll say it again. It's not about how good the footballer is. It's how good their personality is off the pitch. Like, if they're a messer, if they're lazy, if they've got issues, then, you know, it's professional elite sport. We're not a charity. We need to do our homework. And, you know, I would at least be saying, if I was INEOS, you bought Tonali, all the betting stuff was rumoured way before you bought him. Did you not look at the risk there about a player that you've spent a lot of money on that can't play for Newcastle? So, of course, you've got to look at the backgrounds. We have to do that. But it wouldn't be enough reason for me to not go and get Ashworth. But, of course, it's concerning. On the one hand, you can't be, you know... Look, I just feel things are stalling with Man United at the moment. I really, really do. And I think that we need to move a lot quicker than we actually are. And we're not moving quick enough at the moment. It's as simple as that. Dan Ashworth is 2 months ago, still not here. And we're still getting stories from credible journalists saying that we're no closer to this being resolved because neither team will back down. And I don't think we're in a position where we will see that. I don't think we will see that, backing down. I think it could rumble on for a lot longer. Nice haircut, mate, says Brandon. Yeah, fresh trim this morning. Tom Grant says, morning, Mark. We should just pay it. We can make it back tenfold. I think Branthwaite is going to be our Maguire saga this summer. And what are your thoughts on Danny Elmo? Well, I'll bring that story in now, Tom. There's a few things I want to talk to you about this morning. But... let's talk about Dani Olmo. So Man United have been linked to Dani Olmo again, who's a Spanish Leipzig winger. Winger, attacker, false nine, whatever you want to call it. It's another attacking midfielder. So apparently Manchester United are scouting Dani Olmo of Leipzig, and they're looking to bring him into the club. look, he's a very good player. He's 25. He's experienced. He'd be a welcome addition to a Manchester United squad. There's no doubt about that. Unfortunately for people, we're not looking at him. We're not scouting him. It's not true. What people are doing here is Man United are scouting Leipzig players. So Man United are trying to buy Olmo. And we're not. We're just quite simply not. Like we can pretend that we are, but we're not. He's not the profile of player that Manchester United are looking for. We are not looking for that type of player at the moment. It's the same as the Ivan Toney story. 2 + 2 does not equal 4 in this case. Manchester United are not seriously scouting Dani Olmo. He doesn't fit what we need. We don't need another attacking midfielder who can play off the wing. We've got plenty of those. We've got Ahmad who can do that. He will be given an opportunity. Bruno does it. Mount does it. We don't need to go and spend another 30, 40 or whatever million Olmo will cost. And we're not going to. We're not going to go and sign a player like that. The bottom line is that Manchester United are watching Leipzig and they are scouting a few Leipzig players. Specifically, more likely than Dani Olmo would be someone like Simakan, the centre-back, and Sesko, the attacker. That's probably what we're watching Leipzig for, but it's not for Dani Olmo. He's just not the sort of player that we're going to be spending any of it. Look, we don't have a lot of money. The Dan Ashworth thing, in my opinion, and it's pure opinion, I don't think we've got much money. I don't think we can afford to spend 15 million, 10 million on a director of football. So I think at the moment, what United are doing is they're saying, we're not paying that money. We'd rather not have a director of football this summer, which is, I find that an incredible stance from INEOS, to be honest with you, to say we'd rather not have a director of football. I mean, look, let me just break it down here. Just going back to the Ashworth story, because it fits into everything we're going to talk about transfers. The message we're getting is, we'd rather have a summer transfer window without our director of football than give Newcastle 15 million. It's completely and utterly contradictory, because if you've got a good director of football, you'll save 40, 50 million. So why would you do that? Anybody knows that. You don't go, we're not giving Newcastle 15 million, we'd rather not have a director of football this summer, knowing that a good director of football is going to save you millions. And it's not like negotiating Branthwaite from 70 to 50. What I'm actually talking about, the director of football, is buying the right player that doesn't become a flop. You know, we might buy a £40 million player in the summer who flops that with Ashworth we wouldn't have gone for. So you will save that money with a competent director of football. So why are we refusing to pay it? I just don't think we've got it. I think that's the bottom line. I don't think we've got that money to spend on a director of football because the budget needs to go on transfers. I think that's where we're at with it. What about Paul Mitchell? He's free, says Everything Carpy. Yeah, but that's your choice, isn't it? I mean, we know the club want Dan Ashworth. They should go and get him. Brandon G, thank you very much for your super chat. Glenn Brown's been a member for 22 months. More of the same, Mark. Thank you very much. And that's been retracted. I won't shout that out. Nice haircut. We've done that one. Okay. Look, Dani Olmo, we're not looking at. It's just a news story to generate. And look, anybody who's watched the United stand for any period of time, when it comes to transfers, we're on it. We know it. You know it. I know it. We've played the game. I think we've been linked to Dani Olmo for the last 5 summers. So don't waste your time on it. We're not buying him. We're not scouting him. We're not after him. He doesn't fit the profile. We are scouting Leipzig players. Predominantly Sesko, maybe Simakan, the centre-back as well. Maybe even Hedera, the midfielder. We've been linked to him before, but we're not going for Dani Olmo. And, we need to call it out. It's not happening. In relation to Zirkzee, a bit of a progression with him. I've got to give Fabrizio the shout-out on this. It was a few weeks ago when he said that Manchester United were unlikely to go for Zirkzee. I know he's a favourite of yours, 22 years of age, doing quite well for Bologna, formerly of Bayern Munich, Dutch. So he's got that connection that would tick a box, certainly with our current manager. But basically, Zirkzee is looking more and more likely to stay in Serie A, and he's looking more and more likely to go to AC Milan at the moment. Manchester United's interest in Zirkzee, again, has been predominantly paper-led, media-led, Italian media-led. Manchester United have scouted him, but we've probably scouted easily in excess of 100 strikers in the last 6 months. Easily. All around the world. Tell them what you've heard. Got to spread the word. Going to find a better day. Yeah, we have scouted a lot of strikers, and Zirkzee will obviously feature on that, but he isn't really somebody that we've developed a deep interest in. Much the same as Tony, we can talk about it, but they're not progressed targets for Manchester United. Who those progressed targets are at the moment is very interesting, but yeah, Zirkzee doesn't look likely for Manchester United. What's stopping Ashworth? Brandon G says, what is stopping Ashworth from working off the book? A massive fine from the Premier League for Manchester United and him, potential suspension from working in the Premier League for a period of time. He's got a contract, mate. He's signed a contract. He's on gardening leave. Anybody who's been in that situation or witnessed that situation will know that the whole point of gardening leave is you get paid and you don't do your job. So if, for example, your manager, you're going to work today and he's been put on gardening leave, then he's being paid to be at home, but he's also being paid as part of his contract to not breach his contract. So if Dan Ashworth is sending WhatsApps about let's get Southgate, let me negotiate with Everton for Branthwaite, the world we live in now, a celebrity can't take a shit without people knowing how many wipes they've taken. So you're not going to get it. Maybe 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago, definitely 30 years ago, but you're never going to get away with it now. Look, you've got relatives of the England manager leaking out England teams during the Euros last year, whenever the last Euros were, to people like Fogden. And that genuinely did happen. It's been leaked before. So you can't do it. He can't do it. There's no way he can do it. I mean, the only way they could do it is they could probably meet in a Nando's in London. Dan Ashworth could pass a piece of paper to David Brailsford. He'd have to memorise it and eat it with all the targets on. You can't get away with it anymore. So we spoke about that a couple of days ago as well. People are like, oh, Ashworth can still do everything from behind closed doors. You've got to be bloody careful. You've got to be very careful if you do that. Average wipe for slip is 7 wipes. Oh, but isn't it great when you get the magic wipe? When there's nothing. You're sort of stunned. You wipe again. There's still nothing. What's going on? That's a significant turd. And there is nothing to wipe. I mean, what is that all about? Dietitians. How does that work? I mean, people talk about hole-in-one in golf. I mean, I think the clean wipe on the first is better than a hole-in-one. It's better than a 147. It's better than a hat trick. It is a miracle of science. How does that even work? Doesn't happen very often. Why is everything we do a big soap opera, says Tony Cox? Keep up the good work, Mark. Thank you very much. Thank you for Brandon. Good question about the Dan Ashworth stuff as well. United would have planned everything with Ashworth before he handed in his notice, says Mark. I think that's massively naive, Mark. I think that's massively naive because... And look, you can believe what you want to believe. That's absolutely fine. But I'm entitled to give an opinion, and as is everybody else. I think the chances of Manchester United speaking to Dan Ashworth in January to take the Man United Director of Football job are ridiculously high. Of course, because he wants the job. He's on gardening leave, and he's told Newcastle he wants the job. So there has been discussions with Man United and Dan Ashworth pre him being put on gardening leave. But there's absolutely no way Man United took a bloody folder and wrote a list of who needs to be sold and who needs to be bought in January, considering you just can't do that. It's too predictive. There might be one or two. I mean, I'm pretty sure United can sign Ederson and Branthwaite and go, they're our own targets, we've scouted them, and Newcastle want them. So there might be one or two. But the big problem with it, Mark, is a list of players from Dan Ashworth of who we should sign this summer doesn't actually help us. You've still got John Murtagh going off to do the deal. That's where the director of football is important. It's one thing knowing the list of players they think we should buy, which is a risk when he spent no time at the training ground. But more importantly, it's the negotiations. He can't negotiate for us. So you're still sending the same people from last year, aren't you? Anyway, I guess we will see what happens with it. There are a few... I want to talk to you about what Gary Neville has said. Quite interesting stuff, actually. And I actually quite agree with it for once. No, not for once. He sometimes does come out with some good stuff. There's a story coming out that I mean, it's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. A former teammate of Baptista used to play with Zidane at Real Madrid. He's been speaking to some betting company, and he says, I can see Zidane going to Manchester United. I mean, it's, what we're going to pull out next? Zidane's chauffeur. I can see him going to bloody Spurs. I've got no interest in that. It's not going to happen. We're not looking at Dani Olmo, I can tell you that for free. There was a couple of other things I wanted to bring into the show as well. The Branthwaite stuff is really boring. Really boring. Just regurgitation. People in the chat are talking about it. Regurgitation. Yep. Well, here's a good question actually from the chat. I mean, God, there's some real good shit. You know what? Have you noticed? I'm not calling anybody out here, but have you noticed we are being? I go on to like Twitter, and I'll see somebody saying something 2 days later than somebody else said, and they get a load of retweets from it, like it's their exclusive. We're living in the world of regurgitated exclusives. Like, people are just coming out with the same thing that's been said like 2 days ago or even 2 weeks ago. Last night, just before I went to bed, I was having a look on social media just to see if there's any, stories or anything like that. And I saw one about Todibo for 40 million. And I was like, literally, Fabrizio Romano's been on this channel and his own talking about this for 12 months and a 40 million price tag. That was an exclusive from somebody. And then also Branthwaite again. Oh, United Branthwaite, high target. United really want another centre-back. I'm like, bloody hell. It's like Branthwaite and Todibo, even the United stands, Hotometer, has them as 7 out of 10 from over a week ago. So we are getting a lot of regurgitation at the moment. And thank God for shows like this, because we just bring you the news and then we give an opinion on the news without trying to break the news. I think it's quite a... I like the morning show because very rarely do we bring anything exclusive in. We tend to talk about all the news and then you can give a very, good opinion on it. And as we've seen, some of you sometimes deliver the news yourself. Should get a paper round. What was the one at the start of the week, and then we had the one about Frimpong being homegrown. So yeah, it's but look, there's a lot to be positive about. I've got a game tomorrow. There was a great question in there about Sesko. I know a lot of you like Benjamin Sesko. And the question was, do you think we're scouting him, and if so, how interested are we? We're not scouting Dani Olmo, who plays for Leipzig. We're scouting Sesko and potentially Simakan, the centre-back. We're not scouting Olmo. Look, we'll have done a report on him. I mean, technically we are scouting him. I mean, I've said this so many times. It's difficult to explain how, if I get in contact with someone from United and I say, have we scouted Ivan Toney? They will say yes. And then people take that as we're trying to sign Ivan Toney. But if I ring them up tomorrow and I say, well, I don't ring them, but if I get in contact with them tomorrow and I say, have we scouted Ollie Watkins? Yes. Doesn't mean we're signing. We scout so many players. But we probably have got a report on Dani Olmo from years ago. And look, the way the scouts work is we've got so many Man United scouts and they're watching so many games. We've probably had a scout at over 20 Leipzig games this season. And that might be exclusively for Leipzig. It might be because they're playing somebody else that we want to look at from another German club or in Europe, and you combine the two. Because if you're a scout, you can watch a game of football and be intently watching 4 or 5 players. So we will have done something on Olmo, but he's not a target for the summer. That's what I'm trying to say. How seriously are we scouting Sesko? Very seriously. Very seriously. United were really interested in him when he went to from Salzburg to Leipzig. Man United were very interested then. And obviously that club relationship stopped it. So he remains a very and I think that was in the Ten Hag era, wasn't it? I think it was the Ten Hag era. So he remains a very, very high scouted target for Manchester United. What we don't know at the moment is he the priority option? Because United haven't settled on the striker that they want yet. So Sesko's on the list. We don't know how long the list is. He could be one of 3. He could be one of 10. But he's definitely been scouted. And when we've got scouts at Leipzig, I would predict that he's the number 1 player that we are looking at the moment. Which just reminds me of something. I know I've shouted out this account before. I'll shout it out again. Swedish Rumble on Twitter. Very good technical on the financial fair play side of things. Put out a really good tweet, I think it was last night, about, and again, look, I don't know everything. It's impossible. Not everybody knows everything. Basically was talking about the Todibo deal and the Sesko deal. And, you know, like we said, we own Nice, so we shouldn't be playing market value for Todibo. Basically, very good update. Exclusively, we're going to give it you on the United Stand, unless you've read it on Twitter. So you know how Sesko went from Salzburg to Leipzig for about 23 million quid, 20 million, and we were quoted 40, and Chelsea were quoted 40, and they got him really cheap because RB Leipzig, RB Salzburg. So I and many of you have said there's no way we should be paying 40 million pounds for Todibo when Sir Jim owns Nice and partially owns Man United. Well, this Twitter account, Swedish Rumble, completely explains this in the sense that the Premier League have got nothing to do with a Salzburg player going to Leipzig, but they have got something to do with a Nice player coming to Manchester United because Man United are a Premier League club, and the Premier League have their own regulations, and they frown upon, under their own financial fair play rules, a player moving from a club under market value, because it could happen with Girona and Man City as well. So if Man United got Todibo for 10 million when Spurs were willing to pay 40, we'd be in big trouble. So we're not going to get him for 20. We have to pay market value. Now, there's still a way around that. There is still a way around that. All it means is we're not going to get him for next to nothing. We can still get him for 30 plus add-ons because that's still fair market value. If Nice sell Todibo to Man United for 30 million, you could argue they could get 40, but the Premier League can't argue that 30 million's not market value. So I still stand by what I say. We shouldn't be paying 40 million pounds for Todibo when Sir Jim owns Nice, but we will have to pay a market value, and it can't be stupid. So yeah, it's not the end of the world. I think 30 million is slightly under what it would cost us if we didn't have the relationship, but I still think it's a fair market value, definitely. Love your work, Mark, says Eric. Hope you have a happy Easter. Will you do an egg hunt for your kids? Definitely, Eric. Yep, you've got to do that. You know what, though? Some people think it's harsh parenting. When I do an Easter egg, none of this, just leave it in long grass, or I haven't got any grass, it's artificial, or, put it on the shelf. I put them in the pond. I put them in the oven with the oven on. I put them in the toilet. Basically, I make it really difficult for them, and it's hazardous because not only does it reward them with the egg, but it also teaches them about health and safety. Like, if you're going to go in the oven to find that's on for an Easter egg, put your oven gloves on. If you're going to go in a pond to find your Easter egg, make sure you can swim, or you've got, some sort of rescue device. If you're going to go in the toilet to get your Easter egg, make sure you're wearing rubber gloves. I don't take it too far. I don't defecate in the toilet before I drop it in there. But you've got to make it a challenge. Like, every day's a school day. Every day's a school day. Okay, so look, if you write a biography, you need to start each chapter with one of your crazy quotes, says Zero Connection. And Charlie Max says, I won't be rolling out the red carpet for Dan Ashworth just yet. Good CV, but this is a massive step up. I agree with Charlie on that. You've got to... You've got to set the standard. You've got to set the standard, haven't you? You've got to be Manchester United. And I think, and each to their own, there are some people out there that are lapdogs in the media, on social media, who are United fans, and I think they're lapdogs. I think they lap it up. I think they'll just kiss the arse of whatever United decide to do. And that's where we went wrong with the Glazers at the start. We've got no idea how good INEOS are going to be. I certainly don't think they're the Glazers, but look at Todd Bowley at Chelsea. He's come in with the best intentions and he's done more damage than, people who've got bad intentions. We have to scrutinise everything. You have to. Barada, Ten Hag, Dan Ashworth, Sir Jim, They need scrutinising. You've got to keep them on their toes. It will make them perform better. 100%. Talking of that, I've just got a few quotes to bring you in from, I nearly called him Sir Gary Neville. Sir Gary Neville. He will be. There's breaking news. He will be a Sir at some point. If he wants it, he's Labour, he might not want it. Prime Minister of Football. He said that he's been talking about the situation with the Manchester United manager job, and has said that as well as Gareth Southgate has done with England, I've never seen that as a fit with Manchester United. I don't see Graham Potter as a fit, and that's been a strong rumour too. And I don't see the fit between Gary O'Neill and United. Well, look, thank God. We were waiting for this last week. It's a little bit late, Gary, but at least you've done it. Like, at least he's come out, listened, and formed an opinion of him, or formed his own opinion. But great. You know, he's got a very big voice in the media as a Man United legend and a pundit. He's coming out saying, I can't see why Southgate, Potter or Gary O'Neill are being linked to United. I know why Gary O'Neill was being linked to Man United, by the way. Let's call a spade here. We spoke about this. When did I talk to you about this? Can't even remember. It's now starting to hit the mainstream. So another well-sourced story from the United stand. Van der Gaag is very, very seriously looking at the Ajax job. Man United therefore are expecting, and you can take this as an exclusive again, Man United are very much concerned and expecting to have to bring an assistant manager in this summer as well. The sea of change, or the wind of change, it will knock you off your feet at Man United. So an assistant manager is very, very likely on Man United's list this summer, which is why we were looking at Gary O'Neill. We don't want Gary O'Neill to be the manager. We were looking at Gary O'Neill as the assistant manager, which I don't have a problem with. You know, I really don't. But it's because Van der Gaag is probably going to go to Ajax. So keep an eye on that. John said, did Dan Ashworth really succeed at Newcastle? Well, this is what I mean. Andy says, you've got to scrutinise it. But I think they've got to go and get the guy they want. Andy says, Mark, what are the watch-alongs for Easter weekend? Obviously, our game tomorrow night and the big one on Sunday at 4:30, but anything else, please? Yes, so Man United tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on the United stand. 3 o'clock's on the Premier League tomorrow afternoon. 3 o'clock games tomorrow at 3 o'clock, funnily enough. Liverpool-Brighton, 2 o'clock on Sunday, and then straight after that, Man City against Arsenal. And then 8 o'clock show on here. So busy weekend. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Andy. Did Southgate to Liverpool? It's the obvious choice. He can slide straight in next season. I don't know how anyone's not made the connection. It's perfect. Yeah. Well, they're not getting Alonso, are they? So yeah, it would be very, very good. Gary also went on to say that instinctively, as a fan, you hear a name and you feel it or you don't feel it. It's not a feeling I've had. I've not woke up and thought they look like a Man United manager. This is a great comment. I mean, I know we've said it before, but it's absolutely nailed it in a sentence. You get it as a player as well. You know, it's inbuilt in every single Manchester United fan. When you hear a name of a player or a manager, you instinctively know, is that a Man United manager? Is that a Man United player? And it's true. And it causes you different levels of stress. You could throw a name at me in the chat now. If you said Ancelotti, I'd go, yeah. You said to me De Zerbi, no. You say to me Southgate, blocked. So yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. You instinctively know, and I can't believe that Southgate was even mentioned with Manchester United. Incredible. If we sack Ten Hag, I only want Xavi, says Football Maniac TV. Would you bring Giggs in as assistant manager, says Ryan? No. No. And I'm not saying that Ryan Giggs won't have a good future in football, but no. I mean, I was speaking to somebody yesterday about some work we're doing, a project we're working on at the moment. It's nothing to do with the United stand, so I can speak openly about it. So I'm working on a project at the moment, and we need to bring somebody in to sort of help out with it. And we were saying, look, we could advertise. I know a couple of people who could probably step up to the plate, or do you go for somebody who just comes in and knows what they're doing? And I said, we need somebody to run this project who knows what they're doing. We could easily go and get somebody who can step up, but they don't have the experience. And I think that's the thing with Giggs. Why go and get somebody in at this pivotal time who might be able to step up and do a job when you can go and get somebody who can come in and do a job. And I think that's what best in class. That's the thing we're meant to be doing. Gary Neville on Ten Hag. I would like to see him stay in the sense that I'm not quite sure at the moment who else is out there. If Jurgen Klopp was on the market or you could get a world-class manager in, it might be a different story. I mean, look, I don't know whether Gary's been drinking from the same cup as me, but he's suddenly talking a lot of sense, or we're both talking nonsense. He says, when you look at the options, we could end up with someone who isn't as good as Ten Hag and hasn't got the pedigree. Ten Hag also has 2 years of experience at Old Trafford now. The fact that he's had a good first season and a difficult one means he... what did he say? Oh God, fucking hell, I lost myself. Means he should be better for it. Sorry there, it said more and I wasn't ready. For me, I don't like the idea of him leaving and United bringing in the kind of names that have been suggested. That doesn't feel right. I'd rather stick with Ten Hag and believe in him. If he has another season like this, then obviously he won't still be there, but still win the FA Cup and we could sneak into the Champions League. Look, I think we're the forefront of fan conversation as fans because we're honest, we're not scared, we say what we think, and that's the way it should be. But it's always nice when someone in the mainstream says what you say. You know, you can be down the pub tonight and your biggest enemy could be there and they might stand up and say, you know what, we don't get on, but I've got to say, Goldbridge is a legend. You know, the charity work he's done, you know, not to mention his brilliant football career modes. As much as you might dislike that person, you'd go, fair play, they're talking the truth. And I think that sometimes happens in the media. These media people, they're so scripted, they're so scared of saying the wrong thing, that you very rarely get a good take. But when you do, and it's what you believe in, it actually makes you feel good because it's like, well, that's someone in the mainstream saying it. You know, so... Look, I know it's nothing none of you've said, and I don't want to say, oh, look, get Gary Neville, amazing, you know, because I don't think he always does it, but it does do us good inside when somebody in the media is saying what we're thinking, and the majority of us have been saying this for a long time. The people who are being put forward for the job are abhorrent, they're not the right people, and when it comes to Ten Hag, all the people who are sacking him, they never give you a name of somebody to replace him. So when Gary Neville is saying, look, you know, whatever about Ten Hag, I don't see anybody out there at the moment to take his job, so I'd rather see how it goes with him. That's basically what I've been saying. You know, I don't see anyone that can take his job at the moment. That's not a huge risk. So I'd rather not sack a manager again and see if we can fight our way through it like Arteta did, like other managers is. And of course, the big thing that he didn't say that I've said is, I don't want to sack a manager and let the players off the hook. I want a clear out. And the only way we get a clear out is with Ten Hag. Because we're definitely not getting a clear out from a director of football because he won't fucking be here. And a new manager won't do it. So if we are about 8 years past our sell-by date for having a clear out. You know, if Man United's squad was a fridge, you'd open that fridge, you'd pick up a cucumber and it'd say, best before March 2021. Bin it. You'd pick up your mushrooms, best before November 2023. Bin it. But what we do is, someone opens the fridge and goes, I might be able to get some flavour out of that. And it's not. It's a fridge full of ingredients that are past their sell-by date. Sell them, bin them, bring in some new products, let's cook. You know? I'm on. I'll tell you what. Friday night show is going to be brilliant tonight. I've done the toilet, the magic wipe. I've done the Easter egg story, and now I've just done a brilliant analogy about fridges. This is gold. You get it for free every morning at 10 o'clock. You absolute lucky people, and I'm lucky to spend it with you. Brian Maris, welcome to the members club. Do you reckon we will get Ashworth? Says Tom Grant. I'm 100% sure we'll get him. Brandon says I like Xavi, but it reminds me of Ten Hag at Ajax. Yeah, if we sat, and that's where Football Maniac would go. Mark, do a Premier League Hall of Fame. We should vote. Yeah, but we're going to go from. We're just going to go for the Manchester United players, aren't we? Of course we are. Of course we are. What's the plan for the rest of the day? So it is Good Friday, and I was actually meant to be out for a family lunch, but one of those family members are ill, so their illness is your reward because don't worry, it's not serious. They've just got. Well, I hope it's not. Fingers crossed. But there is a flip side to that. Not that they won't be watching anyway, but I'm not saying like that they've got a serious deal. What I'm saying is they're ill, so I can't go out for the dinner I was going to go out for. We weren't going to do a press conference reaction because it's Good Friday and I was going to be out and everyone else is off. But I will be doing the press conference reaction. And I'm happy about that. I'm not happy that the relative's ill. Rest in peace. But, well, no, they're not dead. What am I on about? I meant like, get well soon. I got flustered. I'm bloody giving a eulogy. I literally said rest in peace and did that. What are you doing? You don't get nervous on camera. You absolute idiot. What I meant to say is get well soon. Get well soon. And I will be doing the press conference at about 1:45, which I'm looking forward to, although it is tinged with sadness that I won't be going out with the relative for dinner. That's incest, that other one. But anyway, I think it'll be an interesting press conference with Ten Hag, so I'm looking forward to doing it. And I will be reacting live to that around 1:45 for 2 p.m. 8 o'clock show tonight is going to be player ratings of the season so far, and it will be interactive, so don't miss that tonight as well. I'm going to do a quick That's Football video in a moment as well. Have a great day, whatever you're doing. Keep yourself tuned in. Limited run of framed signed United stand shirts, says Ryan. I think you'd be the only one who bought them, mate. But I'm sure we could sort that out. It's been a great show this morning. I've really enjoyed it. And, where I was a day and a half ago on Wednesday night show to here just shows you that, hang in there. Better days to come. Moods can change. And there's better days ahead. And that can be for everything. And hopefully there's better days ahead for my relative who's not dead. They're not dead. I'll check my phone, but unless something happened during the show. Anyway, take care, everyone. Someone's clipped me up. I think there's plenty of clips in that show. Should be sponsored by a bloody hairdresser. It was there's so much to clip. If I tell you what, if that's me on a 10 o'clock show, imagine the 8 o'clock show tonight. It's going to be golden. I'll speak to you all in a bit. United don't have 15 million for Ashworth, so why sack Ten Hag? That will cost us a lot more. Abdul, you've got to start thinking like that. Money's too tight to mention. It is. Take care, everyone. Absolute legends. What a show. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Back for the Ten Hag press conference. And Ian Belster has just gifted 5 memberships. He's just won it at the end. Ian Belster has just given 5 memberships. Absolute legends. Take care, everyone.